Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we put on our sleep caps and tuck ourselves in for some Nintendo nights. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with ya. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. Super excited for today's episode because we have a super exciting guest with us.
We have special guest, the host of Video Games, a Comedy Show, Jeremy Schmidt is here.
Hello.
Hello,
Patrick
Jeremy.
and Mark. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you so much for being here.
I love, we've been sitting around, we've been chatting, we start recording, instantly radio voices go on.
Radio voice.
Radio voice.
Radio voice.
Let's all for a second just do our regular voices.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Mark. This is how I talk.
Mark, that makes me uncomfortable.
My name.
Us doing those voices just made me think of there's a Toad character now that's walking around Universal Studios.
Oh.
Have you seen this?
No.
So-
I've only been once.
Okay, to the Super
park.
Nintendo.
To Super Nintendo World.
What did you think? We haven't talked about this.
I really loved it. Everyone was like, it's so small. And I was like, I don't know. It's as small as I feel like Harry Potter Land.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I had a good time, and I feel like I left some stuff on the table. Like, I didn't do everything there was to do there that
Did
day.
you power up band and everything?
I power up and did.
Who were you?
Luigi.
Uh-huh, very good.
Yeah.
Did we not have a Luigi? I was Mario.
Was I Luigi? I might have been Luigi.
That would make sense. That would make a kind of cosmic sense.
Were you not Yoshi?
Oh, maybe I was Yoshi.
maybe
I was
Yoshi.
green. I was Yoshi.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. I
You're
think
right.
we didn't have a Luigi.
I think you're right. We didn't have a Luigi.
I think Sarah was Toad.
So I got a survey after. I don't think we talked about this. It's not that interesting. So sorry, but I'm about to share it anyway. I got a survey after we went to Super Nintendo World from Universal, being like, "What'd you think?" And one of the things I put on there was like, "Give me those." Like, yeah, you have like Toad Cafe, but like, I want other Nintendo.
Oh.
Like, I wrote in the survey, I was ready to give you money, but
Yeah.
there was like, I
Right.
wanted more things for me to buy.
Right.
Like, I wanted like more
Right.
like snack carts or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, like the land isn't small, but I understand why they don't have like snack carts. There's barely room for anything as there is.
Well, there's so many
And line management
people.
is abysmal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like, did you guys go at a time when there was less people, or was it
So
just packed?
We went. We paid for the like early entry, so we
Uh-huh.
were in like an hour before the park itself even opened.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So like that's the time when we like knocked out as much as we could. We
Yeah.
did the Mario
Yeah.
Kart ride twice.
Right.
Twice. Yeah.
Wow.
Like in like rapid succession.
Yeah.
And then like as the day wore on and there were more people in there, then it was just like a zoo. It was like
Yeah.
waiting an hour to do like the little like crank the thing
Yes.
Goomba game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really just the one time, and we probably left. I mean, we had gotten there at like 6 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
yeah, we were really
It
early.
was really early.
Yeah.
But then like by 11:30, we were like, all right, you want to go see Waterworld and get out of here?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah. We went, got there early, but we didn't have a special come here early thing. So
Yeah.
we were in line with the rest of Los Angeles, and it like goes through the whole park basically up to the escalators. There's like a line that, and then and it moves semi fast. But when you get in there, yeah, like you were saying, hour for everything, definitely an hour for the Mario Kart ride. And we didn't even do Toad Cafe because you couldn't get in.
Oh,
It was,
sure,
like,
yeah.
booked through the whole day.
Yeah. When we went, the Toad Cafe ran out of clean forks.
Yes, it took
Sheesh.
forever to get forks.
Yeah.
Oh.
All this is to say, I think I want to go back to meet Chunky Toad.
I gotta meet this Toad character.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. How tall do you think it is?
3 feet?
No way! It's got to be
No.
so much taller. There's
It
a
has
human
to be
being
the
in there.
height of the Mario and Luigi, I bet.
So
Yeah.
it's like a 6 foot tall Toad.
I would guess. I'm gonna guess it's like Mickey size, so like 5'3" to 5'5". I know that's really specific, but that's
The
me.
thing is, like, half of it is head. So, like, imagining the performer in there is
right.
so, like, how are they controlling those hands? Like, are they? Do the arms just, like, flop around? Well, there's no way their arms are down in there.
But maybe they're not. Maybe they're like puppeteer arms.
They
where,
might be
like,
puppeteer arms.
have
That's
extensions
a
and they're just
good-
holding on to like something else.
That's weird. Yeah, that's weird to think about. That like maybe torso to head is in the head.
in the
of
head.
Toad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, the eyes see out that big red dot in the top of his head.
I feel like we're obligated to go and find out.
That's cool.
We absolutely are. You can support us on patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society if you are interested in supporting anything that we do. If you contribute at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you have access to the mini-series that we are putting out once a month. We just finished up NCS Detective Club, where we watch the great detective stories on television. And we have started NCS Goes Broadway. We talked about Chicago last month. Should we announce what we're talking about?
Yeah, let's do it.
For the July episode, we will be talking about The Last 5 Years, which is a show that I love, but Mark has never seen.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting.
That'll be a new dynamic because we both loved Chicago and knew it from a bunch of stuff. So anyway, check that out if you're interested. Also, go to our Discord, become a member of the Discord, where you can be in there and like chatting with people and having a nice time. All you gotta do is send us an email at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will send you an invitation, and then you can be in there with everyone talking about Nintendo stuff, talking about the show, and talking about the miniseries as well, if you're interested in having a place for that.
I would love to join this Discord. I'm realizing I'm not on this Discord.
You are not in our Discord.
Yeah, I'm not in this Discord.
You got to get in there.
I got to get in that Discord.
Are you?
I'm more active on Discord now that
Yes.
our whole thing has a Discord, so
Yes.
I always have it up.
Right.
So now
And
I can be
sometimes-
part of this Discord.
Yeah, you should, because sometimes I pop into your Discord.
You do,
And
all the time.
I pop in and I'm like, la 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 la.
You're like, Jeremy, you made this joke on an episode so many times and no one went with it.
It was great. I
Yeah,
loved it.
That was
I wanted
so
to talk
funny.
about it.
That was so funny.
It was their discussion of Zelda 2, which you can check out the
Link's
NBC
Adventure of Link?
Adventure of Link, yeah. Their games club from a couple years ago that are now being re-released for
We're
free.
re-releasing them for free on a free Games Club feed, and we felt like this was a good year to re-release the Zelda ones because I think a Zelda game came out
A big
this
Zelda
year.
game
Yeah.
came out this year. It's true.
Yeah.
And Mark and I are on a couple of those episodes. I don't think any
yeah.
of that have popped yet. But
Yeah.
so check all of that out. All right, let's get into what we're actually here to talk about today. Let's talk about our favorite Nintendo nights. So the reason we're doing this is Pikmin 4 finally lets you stay on the surface of the planet at nighttime. Normally, the monsters go crazy at night.
Too scary.
Too scary. You can't stay there. They'll eat all your Pikmin. And now, I mean, has that changed? Are the monsters no longer crazy at night?
No, it looks like they are still crazy from the trailer.
Right, but
You're
now,
just
now you've got like
Are you
ghost
equipped
Pikmin.
to handle? Yeah.
I think they gave all the Pikmin guns. I think that's what they're doing.
Probably right. That's right.
That is such an odd move for Nintendo to
But-
double down on guns.
Hyper realistic
Yeah.
too. I don't know why.
Yeah. Are the both of you Pikmin people?
I would say that I have become a Pikmin
Okay,
person
Yeah.
largely due to Pikmin Bloom.
Oh.
Yes. Are you playing Pikmin Bloom at all,
I'm
Jeremy?
not. No.
Here's the thing. If you get in our Discord, you may be tempted to start playing Pikmin Bloom.
I've heard it's fun.
Well, because we've got a channel in there that's all of us talking about Pikmin Bloom. Connor routinely organizes like group challenges that we're all like working to do 100,000 steps in a week together or whatever. So yeah, I mean that has done a lot to just like endear me to Pikmin in the abstract. I played the demo for Pikmin 4. It rules.
Oh, awesome.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm ready to go all in on Pikmin 4.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say previously I didn't care about Pikmin really at all.
Yeah.
And then I also got roped into like playing Pikmin Bloom.
Oh, awesome.
And really the turning point for me on it is like I like Pikmin Bloom. I don't really understand what I'm doing in it, but like I like it. But I like the personalities of the different Pikmin type. where I'm especially fond of like the purple ones because they're like a little bit bigger and they always seem like they're like a little bit behind all the other Pikmin. Like they have to hustle a little harder.
They're the himbos of the Pikmin world for sure.
I think that's what we decided on. And so that aspect I like a lot. So I think I'm actually going to pick up Pikmin 4, which previously I would like not have even really thought to. What about you?
I never played them on the GameCube. I got 3 on the Switch when it was re-released and played a good, 5 hours of it. Like played it for a minute and kind of bounced off and always thought, oh, I'm gonna go back. But I think it's just like something else came out. I don't think it was bad or anything. And I think I've heard this said a lot recently that. And I agree that I've always wanted to be a Pikmin person. Yeah. But there's some sort of barrier or some block or something where I'm not, gunning for it or something. Yeah.
Well, so I do think that is where Pikmin Bloom is helping me get over that hurdle where I'm just like, I have a daily familiarity with these characters and like the concept of feeding them nectar and like sending them out on little expeditions. It is now something I do literally every day.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So when I get a chance to do it in a video game, I'm like, hey, this is like what I do in life.
Yeah, I know this.
Yeah. This isn't that weird.
Yeah.
I can do it.
The art design is just like so incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like truly check out the demo because it does. It's maybe like the first 2.5 hours or so of the game. Progress carries over, and like it gives such a nice like look at how you do like from day to day, and like when you go down into like dungeon areas that are these like self-contained puzzle areas,
right?
And time moves slowly in those areas, so you can like actually like think and like spend a little time like doing some problem solving instead of like on the surface where it's kind of like a mad scramble.
Rush.
Yeah. But no, I'm like the demo totally like turned me from like, yeah, maybe I'll check out Pikmin. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll pick it up with a voucher. And now I'm just like, yep, I don't know, day one, I'm there.
Yeah, I was gonna get it regardless. I have been just basically buying every first party Nintendo game on Switch.
It's hard not to.
And like even ones I'm like, I'm never gonna play. I'm trying to get the entire first party Switch collection.
So let me ask you this. Did you pick up Everybody 1-2 Switch?
No, I did not. Not yet.
Mark and I both have it physically.
Oh, good. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely will be picking that up, but I just didn't pre-order it or anything.
Yeah.
It also kind of feel like it snuck in there. Like it didn't.
It did.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it didn't. I was like, so that happens every now and then. Where a game, I'm like, oh, that is a Nintendo game.
Well, Nintendo like did a very deliberate job of being
sure.
Ignore this
Don't
game.
Look at it.
Right.
No one look at this.
No, absolutely do not look at this. You can give us $30.
Yeah.
But you cannot look at or talk about this game.
Yeah. I'm only missing a couple. It's like ARMS. I'm like missing that and
that
in ARMS.
I got ARMS. All right, let's talk about let's talk about some Nintendo nights. Because I don't know about you guys, but like just about any time we make a list of these kinds of things, I have a hard time at first, and then like a seal is broken where I'm like, wait a minute, there are all these great things that happen in Nintendo games at night.
Yes.
So we each brought 3 to 5 of our favorite Nintendo nights. Who would like to go first, offering their first Nintendo night? I'll do it. I'll go first.
You go first, because I just want to make sure. I just want to see it done.
You want to see it done, then you know you've done it right. Yes.
And then I'll jump in.
So I'm going to go with a new Super Mario Brothers U. Right?
Oh, great!
It's a new Super Mario Brothers game. Maybe like the best of the new Super Mario Brothers games. But by the time it came out, I was a little bit like, hey, I don't need this style of game anymore.
Sure.
It looks very similar to everything that we've seen for the last like decade plus, with one exception. There's a level called Painted Swampland, which is basically aping the Starry Night visual style, complete with like a kind of like swoopy moon thing, and it just rules. And it makes me wish the whole game was presented either in like different art, like painter styles, or even just like a whole all Van Gogh Mario game.
Wow.
I just want to like live in the world of the Painted Swampland Starry Night.
Yeah, that's such a great I didn't even think of that, but that's such a great example. Man, and you're right, like, it's giving kind of Yoshi's Island, too, like
Totally,
a
yes.
crayon-drawn look, and I'm like, why isn't the whole game just crayon-drawn
Yes.
backgrounds? That would look so good.
And it's like, because it's such a bold, like, visual concept, and they're like, we do this once.
Yeah. It's great.
It is such a cool moment, like, in that game. Do you know what the one thing I wish was, like, slightly different about it is? It's like they use like the Boo House music because in like all
Did you
the
say
levels.
Boob House?
Yeah, Boob House.
I don't think I did.
Okay.
but maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I meant Boo House.
There we go.
And it's that radio voice.
Yeah.
That's just hitting me.
Boo House.
Boo House music, and like there are levels with booze in it, and for whatever reason, booze in it, and for whatever reason, I feel like because the background is so like cool and unique, that I wish it had a unique theme to go along with it, because I don't really.
And it's not scary.
Exactly. Yeah. But it is. It looks so neat.
If they paired it up with like some Debussy or something, like
Oh,
it would be
yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Like really like tranquil and like yeah.
Yeah, like the end of Ocean's 11.
Sure.
Let's do a Mario level that's themed like the end of Ocean's 11.
Oh, yeah.
What-
I like that contrast, too, of, like, Mario running and being very active with a slower,
Yeah.
sort of dreamlike symphonic, song.
I like that too. I wonder if maybe we'll get some of that kind of vibe in Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
That
That'd be cool.
game is so
I'm so
interesting.
excited.
I cannot wait to see
cannot
what
wait.
is in that game.
Talking flower for Smash, right?
Oh,
Yes, that's right. Annoying talking
yes.
flower.
Gosh, I wish they could just also just trickle out more Smash updates, just randomly, like
Yes,
like
that'd be
Elephant
so
Mario
funny.
costume
Oh,
for Mario
yeah,
would be
yeah.
great. Yeah. Anyway,
So that's my first Nintendo night. Mark,
Love
would
it.
you like to give us a Nintendo night?
Yeah, I'll go next. Mine is actually also from the Super Mario Brothers series, but mine is from the original Super Mario. Well, not the original. It's like from Super Mario Brothers in All Stars. So in Super Mario All Stars, they like
all right, yes.
remade the games and changed the graphics and all that kind of stuff to make it more appropriate, I guess, or take advantage of the Super Nintendo hardware. And in Super Mario Brothers for the NES, World 3 takes place at night, so it's all just like black background and everything.
Right.
But what they did for the All-Stars version is it still takes place at night, but they put like a layer of snow on everything, and it's not they're not slippery. It's just like atmospheric. So put like a layer of snow, and then in the background, instead of just being a plain black background, it is like colored, like multicolored, like twinkling lights, like almost like stars that are blinking in the background, but it has a very like Christmas feel to me. And I just remember playing, because those are the all-star versions. We had a Nintendo Entertainment System, but like I played the most of those first 3 Mario games on All-Stars on the Super Nintendo.
awesome.
So those versions of the games are those like originals to me.
Yeah.
And so I just remember being a kid and, just loving the atmosphere of World 3 in the All-Stars version of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, and that's so much improved on the just like straight black background from the NES version. While like going through, because I wanted to get like some old pulls in this too, and a lot of NES games, especially like in the sort of like overlap with the Nintendo Arcade era, just do have a black background. Like, does Donkey Kong take place at night? Like,
Oh,
maybe it
right.
does. Like,
Oh, right,
it's hard
yes.
to say. Like,
Yeah.
it just
yeah.
it seems like it's just dark.
Yeah.
But it's that's always how it read to me in Super Mario Brothers, where it's like, oh, this is just one of the ways that the NES can deal with the concept of a background is just a black background,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot more apparent in the All Stars version that you're seeing nighttime.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love that too, and I do even love it in the original NES version, where I think they palette swap all of the like trees to like white,
Yeah.
and it just gives it this like it just really pops on your TV. Like suddenly you're just like, oh, everything's different now.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. That's great. I don't think I've ever seen it in All Stars.
Oh, it's really like it looks really cool. It's another one where like going back to it, you're like, I know that there's not that many variations on the music, in this game, but like it's another one where you wish that it had a little more like atmospheric music to go with it instead of just the Mario ground theme. But it's a cool like visual change, and I just like that it has like the snow on it, but it's not slippery. It's just there to make it like visually different.
There's nothing worse in a Mario game than when you get into an icy level.
Sure, yeah.
I like to be able to control my guy.
There is something worse.
What is it?
Wind.
Wind.
In Super Mario
Lost
Bros.
Levels?
2 Lost Levels. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, that's anytime they're like, the guy you love controlling and making him like run around and jump, you can now no longer control him the way you like.
Do you like feeling powerful? Well, guess what?
Too bad. Jeremy.
Yes.
Okay. Your first Nintendo night.
So I think thinking of the concept of Nintendo nights, really, I started thinking about the consoles that I played the most, like at night, whether it be sleepovers or whatever. And it really, to me, was like the N64 and the GameCube. Between those, in fact, I was even thinking, I don't think you're supposed to play Wii at night. I think you're supposed to turn it off. As the sun is going down.
It doesn't stay on at night.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played my Wii at night. It just seems like a sunshine console. But GameCube has this great game called Eternal Darkness on it.
Yes.
Which is a weird one. I think it's a first-party game, but it's like published by Nintendo.
Yes.
It was developed by Silicon Knights, yeah.
Appropriately enough for this episode.
Very appropriate for the episode. And it's a...
Is it KNIGH?
I think it is KNIGH.
Not appropriate. Throw it out.
Yeah.
Stricken from the record.
Yeah. And basically, I think... Have you guys played Eternal Darkness?
Okay.
It is a really weird sort of Resident Evil kind of clone that is aping off of a lot of Lovecraftian horror themes, where you are this woman whose father has died and you're in his mansion and you're basically going to different rooms and you start reading journal entries and books, and at which point that sucks you into that story. You play through that story, and however the outcome of your playthrough in that story shapes the world around you. There's like a lot of different endings to the game, but really it's just the game is like scary, but more than scary, it's kind of just disturbing. Like, the vibe of it just makes you feel uneasy. It's not necessarily things are jumping out at you and popping out at you, but it's just the vibe.
It's a psychological horror kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
And this was also a great one to play at night in real life because it had all these like quirks to. It had an insanity meter, and when your insanity meter would fill up, it would start doing things like turning the volume all the way down on your TV.
Very cool.
Or like switching your input on your TV. Like, it wasn't really doing it, but it was
would just make it look like it.
Yeah.
Like doing a little Metal Gear Solid
a little
Psycho Mantis.
Exact. Psycho Mantis stuff abound. And then or it would like change your character avatar to like a skeleton or like weird stuff to make you think that your console was screwing up or messing up. And like, I never beat that game. I always thought I would someday, but just the memory of that is it just has this. It's like Metal Gear Solid 2. It just has this really pronounced thing in my memory. Where
just
I'm
like a place there.
Yeah, I'm just like, and I always, I'll think about Eternal Darkness forever. So
Eternal Darkness has one of the all-time best subtitles, Sanity's Requiem.
Yeah. It's a cool little game, and it's also just one of my favorite things Nintendo will do every now and then is they'll just surprise you with something they've never done before and they'll never do again.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, and GameCube was a good time for that, right? Like that's where like is it Geist? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite Nintendo console for that reason of just like Mario's going to prison. Luigi is the main character of this console for some reason.
We launch with just the Luigi game.
Yeah.
Link's a cartoon.
We're giving Sega F-Zero.
Right.
Like just like really weird choices.
Just because it was like the last time where Nintendo was like they were on the end of trying to actually just like compete with Sony instead of in the Wii era they were like actually we're just doing our own thing now.
Right. That's where I think they stopped because the GameCube was kind of a failure, right? And it's like and it's like they were trying to market it to teens and it just didn't work. So they're like the Wii is like what? No, We're marketing to Grandma now.
And thank God for that.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Metal Gear Solid and like Psycho Mantis with Eternal Darkness, because I think Silicon Knights also developed the Twin Snakes, the GameCube version.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Of
That's
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's cool.
Just a weird little.
I used to own
thing.
that.
I did too.
It goes
and I'm
for like
upset
$20
that I'm
million.
like,
The
no.
Twin Snakes?
Yeah.
And I'm so bummed that Twin Snakes does not appear to be on either the first Metal Gear Solid collection or the like rumored second one.
That's a bummer.
Why is it not there?
It should be on the Switch version
Only.
only.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be so amazing.
I don't know why I would want it only to be there.
I think that would just be a cool move.
It would be
you
a
know?
cool
It would be
move.
cool.
All right, so me now?
You now.
Me now. All right, I'm going to go with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Oh.
We know it. We love it.
Ooh.
They're adding tracks to it all the time. One of those tracks that they added from Mario Kart Tour, it's called New York Minute. Driving around New York City.
It's based on the Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen.
It is, of course, yes.
Yes.
Yep, it's after the Mary Kate and Ashley movie, Double Double Toil and Trouble.
Oh, okay. It's named after that one.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not even named after
Yeah.
the Mary Kate and Ashley
No,
Olsen.
it's just something that they say offhand in the movie.
Oh, got
I
it.
think.
Because I mean, there is a Mary Kate and Ashley movie.
I
named
know.
it.
No, but so it's New York at night, New York City at night. And I mean, first of all, so much of this track takes place in Central Park, and like to be in Central Park at night, what a joy!
Yeah.
In a car?
Yes, or on a bike, or on the back of like a Wiggler or something with wheels on it. Yeah, it's just I'm kind of like hit or miss on the city tracks, but New York Minute is like one that feels genuinely like fun to me, and there are these posters up everywhere for there's a picture of Donkey Kong and it says Donkey Kong Best Musical, and I don't know if that's the name of the show, but I want to see it so badly. Donkey Kong Best Musical.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
So New York Minute is going to be my second Nintendo night.
Well, I'm assuming that your and my picks won't like continue to kind of like echo each other through the entire list, but I also am going to go with the Mario Kart track next. And so mine comes from Mario Kart Wii, although I think it's been in tour and actually showed up in Wave 5 of the booster course passes on, or boost, you get it, on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But it is actually, now I'm going to double check that Moonview Highway.
Yeah.
Which is the one where you're driving kind of in like as a Mario Kart track, not that great in my opinion, because like it has like the Toad Highway thing where, at least on Wii, where like cars are also on the road, and the layout of the track is kind
Some of the cars are giant bombs.
some
too.
of them are giant bombs.
Who let these things on the road?
Yeah.
What kind of license do you need to drive one of these bomb cars?
I know. Like, what is the DMV?
Yeah. Well, there's C-class licenses, right?
Right.
And maybe there's a B-class license
For bombs.
For bomb,
bombs.
yeah. For bomb.
But the track itself, it's kind of like a square, but at the top when you go into the city, it's like a squiggle. But otherwise, it's so as a track, it's not that great. But I love the aesthetics of it and like the feeling of it, because you're driving in this like wooded canyon for the majority of it on this like freeway, and then you enter this really vibrant like city at night where there's all this neon and everything, and then you go back out into go through a tunnel essentially, and then back out into the
Right, then you're back out on
the
like
wood.
the interstate or whatever.
Exactly. And I like, to me that's like a dream road trip, like that whole sort of like aesthetic of it. I feel like
That's
it's
true.
just like so beautiful.
There is something like very satisfying in the road trip when you are like going through or going around a city that's not part of your destination.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like there's something very where you're like, are we like getting a little bit of like the local color? Are we absorbing
Yeah.
it a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
hey, do we know what Nashville's like? Not really.
Right.
But I've
drove
been
through
there.
it,
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I'm going to actually do another GameCube title.
Okay.
This one is of the Smash variety. This is Super Smash Melee, and this is a Nintendo night, not in the sense of it's nighttime in the game, but when I went to college, we the game, the GameCube had been long dead by the time I was going or whatever, and at some point, we'd all turn 21, me and my group of friends, and we were all going to the bars constantly, whatever, doing our nighttime activities. At some point, somebody got a GameCube and Super Smash Melee and 4 controllers,
right? And
it took over everything. It was like we'd go to the bar and just pounding whiskey cokes and smoking cigarettes inside, indoors. And at the end of the night,
where
Denton, Texas,
okay,
Denton, Texas, University of Texas, UNT. We would all 2 a.m. head back over to my place, and we'd play Smash till like 4 or 5 in the morning. And we did this like every other night for a year.
Yeah.
Like we got so into it. We would go after each other and it was like a constant sort of like championship, always running, like who was taking the crown. People would get better and they would surpass everyone, and then someone would surpass them, and like it totally reshaped my whole thinking on Smash, my whole thinking on video games and what they could be. And I was never a kid who played a lot with other kids' games, so this was a big deal.
Yeah.
So that is my Nintendo night memory.
Yes.
From
the
corporeal world.
That sounds like so much. My favorite video game memories in general are like those social experiences that you have with them. And that sounds like so much fun. Who was your main in Melee?
My main was Falco.
And does that carry through to today?
No, because they changed Falco after Melee. They changed
a
lot of characters.
Here
after
we
Melee.
go.
Well, I mean, straight up, like Fox was my main in the original, and then they changed Fox a little bit. They made him a little weaker.
That was my experience with Pikachu. Pikachu was my main in 64, and then in Melee,
here we go.
Just wasn't the same.
But I delight in the changes. To be fair, like I like that. Like, oh, my main in this game is different than my main in this game. But Falco just had this great down A. He could just spike people really easily, and that kind of went away. But yeah, it was always Falco, Link. I was kind of boring. I like the Fox and Link. I feel like are boring mains to have because
they're like but they're boring mains to have, but they're because you're doing like a little square thing with your fingers.
They're like Venn diagrams of each other. One's fast and sort of weaker. One's slower and strong.
Yeah, well, and just like the archetype of like. You like dashing around, has a gun, has a sword. Where you're just like those are like the basic, like those are the me fighters, right?
Right. Yes, yeah, for sure. So
it's that kind of memory, that kind of like playing it every night with friends that makes me wish that we didn't do a fighting game night at Connor's once a year.
Yeah, sure.
Where we had like all these different game stations set up, and there are like 30 people there.
It's a huge event.
Yeah, if it were just like a regular like Friday night thing,
totally.
and it's always just Smash Ultimate or something. You know what I mean?
What a time that would be.
It would be what a time that would be.
Yeah. Well, and I was also thinking about this on the drive up here that I was like, what was I drinking when I was like, what's the Nintendo Slumber Party soda?
Yeah.
And I decided. You guys can feel free to disagree.
I love this.
I decided it's Coca-Cola.
Yeah, classic
Coke.
Classic Coca-Cola, red, Nintendo red. They kind of go together. Whereas Mountain Dew is Xbox. I feel like Mountain Dew,
Mountain Dew
for
is
sure.
and I
definitely
think the
Xbox.
popularity of Mountain Dew as like gamer fuel came from Halo a little bit. So
I think
like,
so too.
Yeah,
like,
I buy that.
I don't know what PlayStation's is.
Bombay Sapphire. My next Nintendo night. I remember I was talking before about how most like early Nintendo games just had this black background, and you're like, does this take place at night? I had that thought regarding the game Balloon Fight. But then I went back into it, and there are stars twinkling in the background. Balloon Fight absolutely takes place at night.
Oh, wow.
Which makes what these maniacs are up to even stranger.
No, they're deviants now. They're just straight up deviants.
They
Yeah,
are straight
those
up
are
deviants.
hooligans.
'Cause,
Yeah.
okay, like imagine the middle of the day. There's someone like flying around with 2 balloons, and he's trying to pop someone else's balloons with like the spiky beak mask. that he's wearing.
right. And you're like, do you know what? As long as they're done by 10, it's fine,
Yeah, it's
right?
Right.
As long as I can go to sleep.
But then you start to see some like storm clouds gathering, and you're like, "That's gonna be lightning from those clouds." I hope they avoid those. And then the sun goes down, and there's a giant fish, and they're out over the ocean.
Oh my
like
gosh.
it's truly some like Mad Max stuff where they're flying around the night sky,
Yeah.
with these balloons and these crazy masks, and it just like. I would love to see that realized in like a modern
Yeah,
video game
totally.
aesthetic.
Totally.
These crazy guys flying around at night with their balloons.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Do you think they could remake Balloon Fight and we'd all like play it? Like, is there a way to do it? Because
Yeah.
mechanically, it's just so fun.
I feel like, do you mean like as a standalone game? Because I feel like in like a Nintendo Land type like
Yeah.
compilation for sure.
I get maybe something like that or some way to play it modern. I guess you could just re-release it on NES.
Yeah,
maybe
what-
it is.
It is on the NES, on the NSO, yeah. But like, if it were built for, because there's so many ways that like you could make it just like, Queen, Killer Queen, like that you could
That's
make it
right.
like Killer Queen. It's so similar.
Yes. Yeah.
Where like if you just have like teams of like 5-on-5 balloon fight,
Right.
like it could be awesome.
Yeah, in like widescreens,
A
you know, you
big
have double
widescreen,
the
yes.
map
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. And I mean, like I remember, like on the Wii, they remade like Excite Bike and like did
Right,
it really
yeah.
well. And that's where I'm talking about. It's like a standalone $10-$20
Oh
thing.
yeah, like a digital just like game
Digital
on the
only.
eShop.
Totally.
thing.
Yeah. I think it would be a really easy, because it's also like basically, yeah, I think it would be a perfect like thing to
Yeah.
repackage as like a competitive
Yeah.
game. And, you know, Balloon Fight has its like 2-player mode in it where like, I believe it's just 1-on-1 at that point, or maybe it's like the 2 of you against like all the little computer guys. But like
Yeah.
team play
Right.
in Balloon Fight would be genuinely awesome.
Yeah, that and Bomberman multiplayer. I
Yes.
feel like those two would work really well as just standalone little things.
Yeah, and like the quicker they could, the more they could like eliminate time between matches,
Yeah.
like the better. If it was just like,
go.
yeah.
Wow.
Mark?
All right, my next pick comes from Animal Crossing:
Mm.
New Horizons.
Uh-oh.
Great.
And I narrowed it in on 7 p.m. That's where I'm deciding that because look, there are like certain joys.
Is that when the music starts to get just like a little funky?
It does start getting like a little funky, and like
Yeah.
they're like they bring in like the percussion
Mhm.
a little bit more because there are joys of playing Animal Crossing at like 3 a.m, right? And there's a couple of villagers around, but for the most part everything's closed and it's just kind of a time to like fish or do whatever you're gonna do. But 7 p.m. I feel like is like the sweet spot. You get like the little funkier music. The villagers are still out and about. Everybody's ready to party, have a good time. The shops are open. That's my ideal.
The shops are open, but like, okay, all right.
But it's
love
nighttime.
that,
You got
yeah.
if it's event or holiday or something, you got the special lights going. Like I think nighttime in Animal Crossing is like my preferred time.
Whoa.
But I don't like it when everything's like closed.
Yeah, when there's
right?
nothing
And
to
so
do.
it's exactly, yeah. And so I just feel like that like those like perfect few hours in there are my favorite time in that game.
I was gonna say Animal Crossing, or
Yeah.
that was one of the ones I was weighing. If we had gone to 5, I might,
Yeah.
6, or I might
Yeah,
have done
yeah.
Animal. But that's true. I also love.
It was on my maybe pile as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
Just because there are so many like unique things that happen at night.
Sure.
The thing that I had pulled out specifically was that sometimes you'll see Celeste on your island. She's like the pink owl who's like a stargazer.
right.
And then you would know that there'd be shooting stars that night. And when there's a shooting star and you see it, you push the little button to like make a wish.
Yeah.
And then there would be star fragments on the beach the next morning.
Yeah.
It's just like there's something that feels like magical about, because it doesn't always happen.
Right.
And Animal Crossing is the king of like this neat thing doesn't always happen, which can make
Yeah.
it also frustrating.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I just I really enjoyed that they incentivized you to come back at night.
Yeah, and there's like that's when you get like the Poe fragments too, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because sometimes there will be like the Poe on the beach that you need to put their body back together.
I think it's his soul.
His
I think
soul
it's
back
his
together?
soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soul makes more sense.
Yeah. I don't think it has a body, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. My next one, I was going to talk about Pokemon a little bit.
Oh,
please
love
do.
it.
Which
yeah.
is like at some point, definitely not in Gen 1, but I think it was in Gen 2. I think it was the next game. They started doing day-night. And that was where you could catch different Pokemon at night versus during the day.
Yes.
And specifically, I remember like Hoot Hoot being one of my favorite design. It's the owl Pokemon, and always wanting to get that Hoot Hoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and wanting to wait till nighttime.
Well, because it was a real clock, right?
It was a real clock, so
Right.
you had to play at day versus night. Also frustrating.
Mhm.
Also caused a lot of gamers to turn their clocks forward and backwards a ton to
Right.
like
Just like
trigger
Animal
that.
Crossing. Yep.
Just like Animal Crossing. But just that like that new mechanic feeling so profound, and I don't even know if I really I think I don't like real clock mechanics. I think for the most part.
yeah.
I think I like the Zelda, you know, every half hour it's like
Yeah, you've
nighttime
done like
or
half a day.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I still have a fond memory of that. Like first like time Pokemon Switch, and it might not be in Gen 2, it might be in a later one, but my memory is Gen 2 specifically with that.
I remember it being early.
Yeah, with that character.
But yeah, that was like reflecting the real world clock.
Right.
Which like for, playing video games as like an adult or like anyone with a schedule,
Right.
it's like there are just times where you can't play.
Totally. Yeah, but it left a strong first impression.
Yes,
Totally.
yeah, absolutely. Marky, it looks like you've done some research on Hoot
What
Hoot.
it-
I just googled Hoot Hoot because
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with this
Yeah.
Pokemon. And first, let me preface this by saying it makes sense. I just hadn't considered the canonical weight of a Hoot Hoot is 47 pounds.
What?
Which just seems hefty.
Yeah.
How does it fly?
I don't know that it does.
It must be bigger than I'm thinking it is.
It says the height is 2 feet 4 inches.
So like half a Toad mascot costume.
Yes, yeah, roughly, give or
Yeah.
take. And so again,
half my German Shepherd.
it makes
is that
right,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
makes sense because they're like big dogs,
Right.
and even like a medium-sized dog is what, like 30 pounds or something.
Yeah.
I guess
Sure.
I just imagined
But
in
birds
my
are
head,
different.
when I imagine like weighing Pokemon in my
Yeah,
hands.
yeah.
I just don't imagine them being that hefty.
I
You
would
know
have
what I mean?
guessed 8 pounds.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would not want to stumble across a Hoot Hoot that is 47 pounds in real life, but boy, I loved him in those games.
A bald eagle weighs 6.6 to 14 pounds.
See, that's right. So 47.
But
We're talking 4 eagles here.
But a
You're
bald
telling me that thing is the size of 4 eagles?
But a bald eagle isn't really like involved in hand-to-hand combat with other animals, right? Maybe if it was, it would
I had
evolve.
some folders in elementary school that would
Yeah.
disagree with that.
Yeah, sure.
They're
sure.
definitely
Yeah.
involved in hand-to-hand combat
Well,
and ripping a basketball.
I was
Yeah, right,
While
yeah.
dunking it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say if those salmon were 47 pounds, then maybe the eagle would have to evolve to be bigger as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Well, that's a great pick.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one was going to be Animal Crossing, so I got to pivot here.
Ooh.
Did you have a specific time? I was just wondering if we.
No,
Oh, okay, yeah.
it was the event of Celeste and the shooting
yeah,
stars.
that's a great one.
Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna save my pivot for my final pick. Because my fourth one here, I gotta look. WarioWare Gold,
Whoa.
one of the great WarioWare games on the 3DS. I think the best one. It just has so many different games like jammed into it, and so many like different ways that it presents those games to you. One of them is a mode called the Sneaky Gamer, wherein you play as 9-Volt. The little kid who's obsessed with like classic video games, and he's playing his DS in bed, and so it like serves up these games to you over and over again. But you have to watch on the top screen because your mom can come in at any time to check to see if you are sleeping or not. And if she comes in, you have to push L and R to hide under the covers and pretend to sleep.
Right.
Which pauses your game. And as long as she doesn't see you awake, you can keep playing games. If she sees you awake and you're not pretending to sleep, then but she turns into a demon and like the game is over. And it's so much fun to have to like, because WarioWare is always about like kind of dealing with too much stimulus at once, right? Where you're like, I got to play this game, now I got to play this game, now I got to play this game. And in Sneaky Gamer, you also have to multitask to watch this top screen, which is happening in real time all the time, to like read the clues and be like, is she going to, because she can pop out of the TV.
Right.
She can walk by your window outside and break the window.
Yeah.
But sometimes someone's walking by and it's just like an old man and his wig falls off. So like it's just such a cool little layer, and I love just playing with the concept of like you're playing games when like you're not supposed to. Playing games at night.
Yeah, that's fun.
Also, if you do too much pretending to sleep, he actually falls asleep, which I think is so funny. That like he's got like a little meter that goes down. That like no, he probably should be sleeping because it's nighttime. But yeah, that's my next Nintendo night.
That is a really fun one. My nenext one also comes from WarioWare. I'm just kidding.
No,
What?
I'd have been furious.
So my next pick, I felt like it was a little bit of a cheat, but I do feel it deeply to just say, like, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom at night.
I was wondering if we were going to bring it up.
I think it's fair. Honestly,
Yeah.
like, talking about games with, like, day-night cycles and just, like, the world of Hyrule and being able to go into the different towns or different areas and like people going about their days or like sleeping or like just like all that stuff, and the Hyrule in certain areas is just like so peaceful and beautiful at night in a way that's different from the game. So I chose to narrow it down to one like specifically, and to me like Hateno Village at night, especially in Breath of the Wild, I think is just like such a like the music changes and again is like a little more just like I don't know, like a little more, because Hateno Village is never like poppin', but just like feels more appropriate for like evening hours. Yeah, and it's just like a little like softer, more delicate.
Would you want to live in Hateno?
I think I would.
Yeah,
well,
I think that's where I would
Hateno in Breath of the Wild or Hateno in Tears of the Kingdom?
Breath of the Wild. I'm not crazy about mushrooms.
Yeah,
sure.
Did you do all of that stuff in Hateno?
In Tears of the Kingdom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff you have to do at night because like people are sneaking around and you got to like follow them into place. Have you done this?
Right,
Jeremy?
right. I think so. This is remind me of the little.
It's the mayoral.
And there's like the fashion person and
yes,
all of
yes,
that.
Versus the like traditionalist.
Yeah. And you have to cook that thing to get the no.
You get, I mean, there are a lot of little things that you have to do, but there's like...
yes! You're sneaking around, you're like up on a thing, you're looking down at the woman who goes in, and she sneaks into the room. Okay,
because you're trying to... But like both mayoral candidates like have a secret, and that's
love
what like ties them
fashion
together.
Stuff.
It is really funny.
So
it's really funny.
Great.
Yeah.
And getting that big dumb hat when you
Yes.
finish it.
So
I love the
good.
big dumb hat.
And how it changes like Link's hair and his makeup and like, it's so good.
The best.
It almost makes up for the fact that you don't have to go full femme to get into Gerudo Village. Almost. It almost makes up for that.
Right. Yeah. They really subverted that Gerudo's whole thing. They made it way different, and wow.
But yeah, that's. I mean, the nights in Hateno definitely feel like more akin to the sort of like tranquility of the rest of, especially in Breath of the Wild.
Sure.
Actually, maybe I would live. Maybe I'd live in Terrytown.
I
That's
was
another one
thinking
that's really
Terrytown.
good. That's because Terrytown is so like it's such a melting pot. You get everybody in Terrytown.
Yeah.
I feel like my husband and I would fit in great in Terrytown.
I think
you know what I mean?
totally
I
would.
would.
Yeah.
I think it would be good in time.
I think
Kakariko or whatever is like is like too much going on.
Yeah. There's a lot of you'd have a lot of frame rate problems every day.
Well, I also feel like
Kakariko.
Kakariko is like too. I think it's a little too provincial for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's not enough people, not enough going on.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the only town genuinely that I wouldn't want to live in is the Goron city.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
no,
no.
First of all, too much lava.
Yeah,
I don't-
totally.
I don't want to risk that.
Totally.
Also, sure, you could live there if you're wearing like the flame
Flamebreaker.
breaker armor or something. But it's like that's like a lot of
Or
work.
I'm always gulping down fireproof lizards. Like,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. I think I could because I like cold weather. I think I could probably do the birds.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dorito! I think
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
That
I
would
mean,
be really
and
fun.
you're like your butt would look amazing going up and down
totally,
those stairs all the
yeah.
time.
Totally.
Your
It kind of
cardio
reminds me
would be
like
out of the world.
Oregon.
But yeah, just like really, just both those games at night.
Yeah.
Just like some really incredible, just like vistas and moments to take in.
Totally. I mean, probably of all the ones we mentioned, some of the best looking night
Oh, for
stuff.
sure, totally.
Yeah. I was so
Yeah.
curious if someone was going to bring up Zelda.
And as long as we're on the subject of those Zelda games at night, let's talk about the Blood Moon.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
That only happens at night,
Uh-huh.
and like sometimes you can see the blood moon like starting to rise at like 10 o'clock or something.
Yeah,
and you're like,
right.
oh no.
Oh.
Are you ever? So sometimes I'm battling like a Talus or something, or just some big tough enemy, and I can see the blood moon rising, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, why do I? And
Yeah.
I slay the thing, and it's like 11:30, and I'm like, no,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
about to come back.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love that. Yeah. I feel like I'm always gliding when it happens. I'm like, and I'm always
Yeah.
every time I go, is it gonna glitch
I
out
know,
or
no,
knock
I-
me down? Nope. Every
No,
time I'm just
every
Every
time
time
always
it's
knows
fine,
how to
but
do
I
it.
have
But,
that same
yeah.
fear every time.
What's
Yeah.
gonna happen if I'm in the air?
Especially if I'm really trying to go like get somewhere really far and
Yeah,
I'm like
right.
Yeah.
on my way there.
Yeah.
I'm not about to give anything away here, but have you experienced the change in the blood moon in Tears of the Kingdom?
No.
Next time, so Mark Free, I'm not sure where you are in the game.
I can tell you.
Jeremy. Well, tell me.
I've done all of the regional
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay,
things.
yeah.
I've done all of the memories tiers.
Okay, did you go to the Hyrule Castle after doing the four?
No, because I think my gut was telling me that we're gonna get into endgame stuff at that point.
You are not getting into endgame stuff yet.
Oh, great.
If you head to the castle,
Okay,
like
great.
it's kind of, but it's a very long road to endgame.
Okay,
from
perfect.
there.
Perfect.
But after that,
So I should do that. then.
should do that.
Okay,
yes,
great.
for sure.
Yeah.
After what happens in the castle, the blood moon like cutscene changes.
Oh, so you haven't done this either then?
Well,
he has,
I
but he probably
have,
just skipped the blood moon, right? Like
I
every
do.
time
I
it happens.
skip the.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
That's interesting. I did not
Ooh,
realize that.
cool.
I should
Like,
actually.
I got
watch it
something
now.
spoiled for me pretty early, which is a bummer. But I won't say what it is. But it's
yeah.
like something that happens later.
Oh.
But,
I'm just a little bit. I know we're way off topic now, but
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit ahead of where you are because
Right.
I've done all the regional
Right.
things and then got all the tiers, and then I did the next
mission.
the next like 2 missions.
Did you get up? You guys fully upgrade your tablet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
did
yeah.
you guys get all the map underground?
No,
Oh,
I have not done that
even
yet.
close.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I that's what I did after the 4 regionals was I went underground.
Got it.
And I started just hunting all
Oh.
the armor. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I want to get every costume and blah 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 blah. So
Have you? Okay, have you done the? Have you done the? I always forget what there's an actual word for it, but like the mazes. Have you done all of the?
The labyrinths.
I haven't
Oh,
done
the
any of them,
labyrinths.
any of
Oh,
them,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
labyrinths,
yeah.
I think in this game are really cool.
Oh, cool! Because
Yeah.
I remember not loving them in Breath of the Wild.
So like, I mean,
They
I will
feel
say
kind of similar.
the like labyrinth itself, especially on the ground, is like it's not that different, but it is the accumulation of like the pieces of the labyrinth.
Oh, cool.
That especially the first time you do it, I thought was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I sort of made the mistake of like the first one I did, like really cool, and then I beat the game, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna go like start just checking stuff off.
Yeah.
And I did the other two labyrinths like back to back, and by the end of the last one, I was like, enough with the labyrinth.
But you get a cool suit of armor.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
you know,
Yeah.
so-
I'm excited to do that. But I remember like finding several labyrinths and being like, I'm saving the. I don't want to do them right now.
Yeah.
I can't be derailed from my goal in this moment
'Cause
to
it's
go.
so easy to do.
It's very easy to do.
That's
yeah.
the whole game. Is
What a
just being
great game.
derailed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
great
took
game.
a big break and to play Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
And I hate that game. And it sucks that I did that.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Jeremy, your next Nintendo night.
Yes, my next Nintendo night is going to be it is Mother 3, New Pork City.
Tell us about New Pork City.
I haven't played Mother 3 at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have probably played the Smash level of New Pork City, right?
Yes.
It is the giant metropolis. It's one of the bigger maps that they have, and it's all at night. It's basically New York City, but it's like Mother 3's version of it, where there's like it's like pig themed because it's all New Pork City, and so basically in Mother 3. Most people won't ever get a chance to play it because it's not available. But if you happen to come across an English patch translation of it, you go through most of that game. It's actually compared to Earthbound fairly linear, or feels a lot more linear. A lot more like story focused. And there's a breaking point where at some point you've like done all the things you can do, and there's like take this like limousine to New Pork City, and if you choose to do that, it's like you can't go back, kind of a thing. It's like, but once you get there, it sort of like takes you through the end of the game, and it just has this like incredible it just leaves a strong impression on you. Like you get there, and it's like suddenly the entire palette is at night. Everything is different. Everything is pastoral beforehand, and it's like you finally get to the big city, and there's so much to do. And on the GBA, it's like they just had like giant sprites abound. Like here's a giant statue you're running around, and like the design of it's great. It's like kind of carnival-esque too, where you can play a lot of mini games there, and it gives you this sense of just like this game is infinite. Like there's just so much happening, and and it's very not that. So it's like it's a clever sort of design technique to be like, you're basically on rails in this game until you're kind of opens up to this big city, and so that's what. And so after playing it, I was like, oh, that Smash level is actually really clever because that's how it feels.
It feels that big.
It feels like this is the biggest part of the game. There's so much going on, and I love it because it like takes that whole map and just zooms it out in a way in Smash, where you can see the whole thing and see what's going on there. But yeah, it is. You
just put some maniacs in balloons in that space.
Yes,
you got yourself a game.
Absolutely, you put some Mario Karts through there, racing around. But yeah, Mother 3, strong recommend anyone who wants to give it a shot. But specifically, that moment is just so profound, and then, of course, the music is incredible, just the best.
I love those moments in games where, and I wonder if there's like a term for it, where like you realize there's more, or you realize there's like a different, like akin to diving into the depths in Tears of the Kingdom for the first time. Where you're like, oh wait, there's like another dimension of this that I didn't know or didn't expect.
Totally.
I think about like leaving Midgar in the original Final Fantasy VII, where it's just like, oh, there's a world out here.
Most of the game is out here.
Yeah. And the remake is like, no.
That's the best. That's the best. I mean, you guys saw the trailer for the remake 2 or whatever. Where it's like shows you running around the overworld.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Very excited. Very curious what that's going to be. Boy, I sure hope no one from Final Fantasy 16 worked on it. Do not like that game.
I mean, they're coming out so close to each other. Like it would be unlikely that there would be overlap in those teams.
Totally.
That's so funny to me.
New Pork City, great pick.
New Pork.
All right. Final picks now.
Final picks.
Wow. We're on our final rounds. Then we can do honorable mentions if we want to.
Sure.
I got a simple one for the end here.
Ooh.
The very first time you put The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time into your Nintendo 64, and you turn it on, and there is this tranquil attract screen that is just Link riding Epona at night, and the chillest music you will ever hear in your life, and which doesn't get reused through the course of the game. Like that's the only time you hear it, and like is not a super like common thing in a Zelda game to have this like, because it's tone setting in a way that Mark, the last time you and I were like digging deep into what the individual Zelda games mean, or like I forget exactly what the conversation revolved around, but we were talking about how like sad Ocarina of Time is, and how it's all like focused around what you lose as you age, and like how giving up childhood is like something that you have to do to achieve great things. And the title screen hits those beats of melancholy in a way that like you don't realize is happening the first like 7 hours playing this game, right? So yeah, it's just it's just such a tranquil. You're seeing Hyrule Field, Link's riding a horse. There's the moon.
Yeah,
it rules.
Yeah, what a like
best game ever made.
Yeah, I mean, no, seriously, like what
might be.
What a crazy like. Also, how interesting for that to be the attract screen.
Yes,
because right, it's like you're putting that in for the first time, and this is the first like 3D Zelda game, and like what a like statement of purpose. What an interesting statement of purpose.
Yeah,
that is what they choose to use to kind of like introduce you to what this game is.
Yeah, because
it's
so
not confident.
Yes,
that
yeah.
choice is so
confident.
confident, and it's like the last time you saw Link, it was Link to the Past.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he looked like this.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
You look like a bunch of little blocks.
yeah.
And now you look like a bunch of triangles, I guess.
Well, yeah.
But like it's insistence on like just Link riding a horse through a field. It's not like the iconography of the like title screens of many of the other games are like the great ocean, the great sea in Wind Waker, or like the Master Sword in most of like the early Zelda games, right? Where it's like the focus is like some big supernatural thing or a weapon, right? And this is not that. This is a nighttime ride on a horse.
Yeah.
No like triumphant theme
No
or anything
triumphant
to kind of
theme.
like jazz you up. I don't know. It's just it is very cool.
No enemies, no violence. It's
it
very
almost
strange.
feels like now that you're saying that, the encouragement is like you're gonna be exploring in this game.
Yeah, totally.
Like combat is just one of the verbs, but like exploration is gonna be maybe even a bigger one.
Yeah,
which is really great, and I feel like Zelda works best because the combat has always been like sometimes great, sometimes fine, sometimes but
sometimes both in the same game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the exploration, is usually always great.
Yeah.
In those games, so.
Also interesting that like when I think that's so true, and that when they were starting this new era of Zelda with Ocarina of Time, that's what they focused on, and then with Breath of the Wild, that again was the focus of like the game was that like you can kind of like go anywhere. The world is so big,
right? Unlike Skyward Sword, which is about swords.
And we know, I mean,
but
which
like
is,
it is,
like combat was such a huge part of it,
Right.
and which you're right, it's so interesting because like. I mean, I guess the combat in the Breath of the Wild, or like in Tears of the Kingdom is good, but I don't go to Zelda for like satisfying like combat.
It's like a little worse version of a Souls combat or something, where
Sure.
it's like not quite as mechanically sound as like an Elden Ring, but it's serviceable enough to be fun. But I like building my ships.
Right,
That's more what I enjoy doing.
Well, I kind of just like running off in a direction and
Yes.
like seeing what's over there.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like that is what the attract screen from Ocarina of Time promises. And like I don't know if like that game is great and like but the world is like ultimately so small.
But for the time.
But it feels
For the time.
and it still feels big. Like,
Yeah.
It felt very big. It also felt like this is cinema. Like
Yeah.
we're doing
Oh my
cinema
gosh,
now.
yeah.
Like we have a helicopter shot
Uh-huh.
coming through the field, and a lot of games. That was
True.
a very popular thing to do at the time. Final Fantasy VII, you
Mhm.
mentioned, is very cinematic. I love that pick, and I didn't even think about it.
it's one of the great like
I have an
attract
Ocarina
screens.
honorable mention, but it wasn't the start screen.
I see.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just to go off topic for one more second.
That's fine.
Yeah.
When you were talking about being able to just pick a direction and go in Zelda games, that made me think in Tears of the Kingdom. The guy who's like building the signs, or trying to put the signs up.
Addison,
Do I
yeah.
ever?
Does that ever like? Is there an end game to that, or can you just do that forever?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a finite number of them.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Is there
It's like 80 signs. Or
Is there
something
something fun to finishing them?
I don't
At some
know.
point, his
I've
rewards
not
are not worth it at all.
Right,
They're, like,
right.
just
You've like
You
gone
don't want those
past
20 rupees?
or those like pies or whatever he's giving you.
Every now and then he will give you a bomb flower. And
Yeah.
like I always need bomb flowers.
But
Yeah, those are in short supply.
they are,
Yeah.
yeah. But that is good to know. I just wasn't sure if it was like they just like randomly pop up
No,
forever and all time.
Yeah,
That's
he,
fun.
he
Yeah.
has a set number of spots where he's setting up signs.
That's funny.
Right.
I've started using a lot more muddle buds.
Okay.
On arrows, just to like.
Muddle buds.
Yeah, muddle bud is a flower that you get in the depths, and when you either throw it at enemies or shoot them with an arrow, they become confused.
Oh.
So if you're like raiding a camp, or if it's one of those like where there's the big
Yeah.
like moblin and like the little guys like following him, you confuse him, and then he starts like attacking his guys.
That's okay. That's great.
Oh,
That's great.
cool.
Yeah,
I love those in puff shrooms.
yeah, puff shroom's also very
I
very
have
good,
done.
very effective.
I've done a embarrassing amount of little experimenting with the different items and like
Oh, you gotta.
arrows and stuff. Like some.
Yeah,
But if it's not clearly telegraphing to me what it's gonna do,
yeah.
I've like, well, that could be a finite resource. I don't know. Interesting. I'm gonna start doing that
Yeah,
more
you-
because
use
I
those
hate
muddle
coming
buds.
up on the rolling up on a team and just going in like,
here we go.
here we go. I gotta whack these guys.
No, you find the
forever.
biggest guy, you throw a muddle
Yeah.
bud at him.
Yeah, that's
He's
good.
confused. Now he's fighting on your side.
That's so good and clever. Okay, good, great, yeah.
All right, my
yes,
final pick.
yes.
So my final pick comes from.
You don't have any other questions about Tears of the Kingdom?
they'll come up. They'll come up. Don't worry. I'll interrupt
All right,
to check in on everybody's experiences. Okay, so mine actually is not a Nintendo game, but I associate it greatly with Nintendo, and it's Chrono Trigger.
Oh,
Yeah.
And the part I wanted to talk about is like there's a moment in the game that's like this like campfire scene where like the
Iconic,
characters
yeah.
are like gathered around and you've just like gotten Robo back. So basically what happens, I wrote it down because I want to get the details of this right, but basically you're helping a character at some point like named Fiona who asks you to go like kill a monster that's in the desert that she lives in. And after you do that, she's kind of like telling you like her dream is that eventually this will become a forest. And Robo, who's like the robot character, like says like Robo's the most human of the characters in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Is and he's like knowing that will basically be his next 400 years or whatever. He says like yeah, and so he spends like 400 years planting trees and kind of like maintaining this forest, and then so you travel to the future. And, you know, neither of them have survived really to see this dream become a reality, but this giant forest has grown out of their work. And you go to this like temple or shrine or sanctuary that's kind of in honor of them, and you wake Robo up. And it's a reunion for him after 400 years with kind of like all of his friends.
Just
and
waterfalls.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, you know, after this, there's like a campfire scene where all the characters and Robo are like sitting around. And this is where
And it's like Luca like fixing him up.
maybe. I think I can't remember exactly. But like, so they're all there and they're talking about like where these time portals have been coming from. And Robo, you know, like thinks maybe like talks about how memories are kind of a time, like a version of time travel, and how you know, like maybe it's not Lavos or whatever that is creating these time portals. Maybe it's like grief or something like that.
Yeah.
And so everybody's like talking and, you know, reuniting and all that kind of stuff. And then later that night, Luca kind of like wakes up and walks away from the group into the forest. And there is a like a time portal there that she steps into, and it's a little bit different than the other time portals, which are usually in fixed places. This one just seems to like be there for the one time.
Yeah.
And she goes in and she time travels to this part where she was like a little girl, and her mom is like working in this like factory, and her mom's dress gets caught in a machine, and she gets pulled into the machine, and basically her like legs are like ruined. She's not able to walk anymore, and that's at that point like that's where Luca one of her things like doesn't like machines, doesn't trust machines,
right.
and then comes back through the time portal, and Robo is there, and Robo is like willing to give up their legs and will use treads so they can so Luke can give it to his mom. It's just like, and And so that's where like Luca begins to like trust, like machines and robots and all that kind of stuff after that. I don't know. It's just Chrono Trigger is such like a crazy game because it is on like the Super Nintendo, and so it just seems almost like childlike, in its like presentation with like the cute little characters and all that kind of stuff. But the themes it's dealing with and the things it's talking about are so like interesting that I appreciate so much more as an adult.
Yes.
Whereas a kid, like I thought it was cool, but I didn't really like. I never really. I didn't think about it as anything more.
You
than that.
hadn't lived maybe long enough for those themes to impact you the way that it would an adult who's seen more tragedy and seen more things. That, you know what I mean? That now hit close to home.
Yeah, I feel like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI both have this like kind of ability to. Because like the thing that you are attracted to as a kid playing Chrono Trigger are these like time travel and like these paradoxes
and frog
and all this like big like world-ending stuff. And that's the same stuff that I was attracted to in Final Fantasy VI as a kid. But as an adult, I can replay it and be like, oh, there's actually this like scene where like Celeste loses all of her friends and like throws herself off a mountaintop. You can drill in on these like deeply personal stories of like grief and longing and all this that it exists side by side with the gigantic world-ending stuff.
Yeah,
that's why they're like all-time classic games.
I mean, and there's something too that I feel like is so much more corny about the way that they try to handle human stories in modern RPGs in some ways where like I just feels like those 90s games had something more interesting going on. Like, I mean, this is completely off topic, but I think about like Final Fantasy IX. You guys ever play that with like?
Yeah, totally.
Remember Vivi? And his whole conundrum is like
Mark doesn't like Vivi.
You don't like him at all. Well, but like his whole story is like I'm going to die very soon, and I have to go on turns with that. And it's like, and you're just like, wow, my like kid brain is like, and maybe it's just because I came to those games as a kid, but like Chrono Trigger concerns itself with this big macrocosmic thing, and then these very micro human stories. Final Fantasy VI does that. Final Fantasy VII does that. I mean, it's like all my favorites do that. And then it seems like at some point, it did, like this things became more generic. I'm going to keep bringing up Final Fantasy 16. A very generic story that really drops the ball in a lot of ways. Like it attempts to talk about like slavery and like weird, like too high concepts, and it doesn't pull it off well. And you're just like, why did you even try? Like,
And I do wonder if sometimes it's like the limitations of those earlier systems where, like they had to work within a really specific framework, and having those limitations, they couldn't over-explain themselves. They couldn't just create cutscenes that were like 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
I think that's part of it. I think there's also like, not that the crews for Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 were like small teams, but like if you compare the team that made Final Fantasy 6 to the team that made Final Fantasy 16, it's the scale is like, and economically the scale is like totally different too.
The storytelling is also so much more broad because there's so much more of an international like
that's
presence,
such a great point.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it just feels like when you need to convince fewer people of your vision can be more specific.
Totally.
Yeah, and something you can. That's such a great point because, like, on Final Fantasy 16, like, how much could one person really like influence, a game that hundreds and hundreds of people had to work on?
And like, you can, but that person is also going to be like filtering for what they perceive the common appetite to be, right?
Right.
That's why Final Fantasy 16 gets compared to Game of Thrones, right? Like that they were going for like, what's the most popular thing that's sort of doing what we're doing, and then just not that I've played Final Fantasy 16,
but it's true. That's exactly what it is. It's just like they're saying the F word a bunch, and you're like,
okay,
why? I don't need that. Like, why is that cool? There's like one Hideo Kojima. And that's it.
Right.
There's like one guy who can do that, who can make a freaky thing. And I mostly don't love all his games. So it's like...
Right, but you can appreciate...
But
at least has a point of view.
I appreciate the point of view and the execution.
Although weirdly, some of that is still like alive and well at Nintendo.
Oh, sure,
like, Tears of the Kingdom, I'll bring us back to it. Still like a profoundly weird game all the time.
And this little stories they tell inside of it are so good. It reminds me of like, I don't know if you guys ever played Red Dead Redemption 2, but you could like really get into these small moments of like, there's like a serial killer on the loose, but you're not supposed to pay attention to it. You're supposed to like just see the evidence of it as you're going through. It's like I love stuff like that. And Tears of
the Rockstar guys might be on that same level, that they can
Yeah.
actually do something very like trippy or specific or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I love talking to NPCs. We're just going to talk about Tears of the Kingdom. Talk about NPCs in Tears of the Kingdom. And in most Zelda games, you're like, oh, all of you are little freaks.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Everyone's a little freak.
Yeah, everyone's a little freak. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do my last one just because
please.
it's actually comes off the back of
Tears
Mark's
of the
last
Kingdom.
one. It's Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
It is the opening of Final Fantasy VI, which is like
Oh my
the
god.
mechs, the mechs walking through the
So
snow
good.
at night, and it's snowing, and the music. It's like one of my favorite Nobuo Uematsu scores, and that song in particular is so iconic right away. And you sing the credits roll again. Cinema is alive in games suddenly, and it's not quite as much of a emotionally stirring moment as the one in Chrono Trigger, but it is to me like one of the all-time great opening sequences, not unlike the Ocarina of Time one.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Absolutely. So Final Fantasy VI like flitted through my head too, but then I was like, how do I pick a single night?
totally.
Because like the night of the opera.
Yeah, the opera scene is iconic.
Cyan's nightmare.
Like the train sequence, I think, is at night.
The Shadow's entire history that plays out like as you're staying in inns and stuff. Like, it's that game plays with like what happens at night and like how that's a like special time or a strange time where like weird stuff happens. But the first night is absolutely the right pick. Music's so good.
It's so good, and the way they introduce you to the story through that is so great. Where you're like, you're this mysterious woman who is experiencing amnesia or is like under a kind of a spell or a hypnosis.
Slave crown is what it's
slave
called.
crown. And it's like pretty quickly we get Moogles right away.
Yeah.
Takes you like 6 hours to get a Moogle in Final Fantasy 16. But yeah, I love.
All I want to know is time to Moogle. How long is it?
Time to Moogle. And if you're a Final Fantasy and you have no Moogle,
get out of here.
I am not playing you.
Yeah.
But I love. Yeah, Final Fantasy 6 is again iconic.
There's something really like magical about the 16-bit era where I feel like creators who had been working under like the 8-bit era, it felt like it seemed like the sky was the limit, and they were finally able to
had the tools.
Yeah, they had the tools to do some of the things, make it more cinematic, like that sort of thing. I feel like that's one of the really special things about that era.
Yeah. Also, it just we talk about this all the time with like books, but like the emphasis on imagination, like the user, or the consumer imagination, and how that plays into it. The 16-bit era, some of the 32-bit era as well, like just really threaded the needle perfect of like they're showing you enough to get your imagination like to skyrocket. Now you don't need imagination to play a game. They show you exactly what's going on, and arguably in the 8-bit era, it was almost too
abstract,
too stripped down. Yeah, but now. In the 16-bit era, like they show the mechs walking through the snow, but you're filling in way more of the details, and the textures of what's going on, and you're feeling the So I love I think that's why I love retro games and so much, is just because I get to decide what everything really looks like.
Great picks. All of these were great Nintendo nights. Do we have any honorable mentions, things that we want to shout out as like other notable Nintendo nights? I'll start with one. The entirety of Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario USA, happens in Mario's dream.
Oh yeah, that's good.
At the end of the game, we see him like sort of stir in bed a little bit, wake up, and then he closes his eyes and the credits roll.
I'm in my mind, he's wearing a sleepy time.
I think he is.
He doing that? Okay, great. I was gonna say the graveyard sequence in Ocarina of Time is very iconic to me. Just hanging out with the guy who takes care of it.
Dampy,
and then the pose and all that stuff.
Totally.
That's an honorable mention of mine,
Mark, you got an honorable mention?
Is there a Donkey Konga level that takes place at
I
night?
was-
Donkey Konga?
I was thinking about the silhouette.
Oh
level.
my gosh, yeah,
the
from
the
Donkey
sunset
Kong,
sequences, yeah.
from like Returns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they
right.
do it in like the water levels in Tropical Freeze. That
Yeah.
was
Oh,
such
yeah.
a cool choice.
That's great. Night was it Twilight City in Wave Race 64?
Oh, yes!
Such a beautiful stage in
Yep.
that game. I was also going to talk about like I couldn't figure it out, but like Kirby when it does nighttime palette swap or whatever, like specifically, I guess I'm really thinking about the Smash stage that's like all at night with the beautiful
that's the
fountain.
fountain in
Oh,
the middle, yeah.
uh-huh.
But that's connected. That's got to be connected to like levels, and I know I've played them in different Kirby games.
It's hard for me to remember individual Kirby levels.
right? But when it is nighttime in Kirby,
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
But also, he lives in Dreamland.
which might
So-
be all at night.
Is that all? Like, whose dream is that?
Yeah, who's dreaming about this candy world?
Yeah, I want to meet this freak. Is there? Do all the Luigi's Mansion games only take place at night?
Yes, and those are great picks too. Like I think those are excellent. And another honorable mention is off of this is the GameCube era of Resident Evil games that I thought was so
sure,
good.
absolutely.
Yeah, the remake specifically, Resident Evil 1 remake
Yep.
and Luigi's Mansion together, those make a great double feature.
Yeah, and if we want a triple feature, we can throw Resident Evil 0 in there.
Totally, absolutely.
Also takes place that same night on a train,
On a train, no less.
and then in the mansion.
And then in the match, yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta get back in that
Yeah,
mansion.
yeah. Are you guys excited about that Dark Moon re-release on Switch?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know either.
It's my least favorite Luigi's Mansion of
I-
the three.
I know I have played some of it
Uh-huh.
because Mark reminded me that I own it,
Uh-huh.
but I had forgotten.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have many memories of it.
Yeah, it's like level based.
Right.
It's
Which makes
weird.
sense for like a portable system.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
Yeah, like how much are they changing this thing?
they made it sound like it was a graphical upgrade.
Yeah.
I guess I'll get it because I get all of them. But will I play it? We'll see. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm glad we had this conversation about Nintendo Nights. Let's close this out. Jeremy Schmidt,
Yes.
thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank you
joining
again
us.
so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Is there anything you would like to plug at this time?
You can follow me on Twitter if you want to go to that website at Ocarina of Crime. You can also check out my podcast, Video Games, a Comedy Show, anywhere podcasts can be found. Also, shout out the show that I produce, Call Me By Your Game, which is hosted by Connor McCabe, who's been on this show quite a bit. You can find that anywhere podcasts can be found. We do have a Patreon if you're just itching to burn more money. First, do this Patreon. Go to do Nintendo Cartridge Society, but then if you have more money,
First,
go
make sure you got enough to put food on the table.
Yes,
Yeah.
make sure you can feed your family, and then if you can, go to patreon.com/SuperNPCRadio. We have way too much content over there. We have so many just Patreon-specific shows, currently running games clubs. I think we're about to start covering Sonic Adventure as a week-to-week games club format podcast. So if you like freak stuff like that, head over there. That's it.
Yeah, and Connor will be playing on my Dreamcast.
Dreamcast,
That's right.
which you were kind enough to let him borrow. If I hadn't played it on Dreamcast already, I would be busting out my Dreamcast to do it. But
Very good.
I'm choosing the DX version, the GameCube version.
Oh,
this time.
very good.
Yeah.
You'll probably have a better experience than
Sure.
Connor will.
Yeah.
All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, the aforementioned Connor McCabe and Patrice Mallet. Join our Discord, email us, we will send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.